This is the Ceado E37SD coffee grinder. This is how it came packaged, in a mini pallet. Here I am unboxing it. There's a box inside the box. It came with this adapter which was a bit broken, so I just bought a decent one on Amazon. So what's inside the box that was inside the box? Lots of paper packaging, nothing too annoying, no polystyrene. Okay. Manual and parts. These are all the accessories. You can detach the worm screw and just turn it like this. You get a brush, you get a funnel, you get a metal cup for grinding into if you want to. You get the WDT droplet squirting thing. You get the bellows, which pushes air through the grinder and helps you to get out the last few grinds. And you get a cup for measuring your beans into and squirting your water into. Let's see how well this worm screw works. There's very little play in it, it's quite good. Maybe a tiny bit of play when you change direction. Turning it on for the first time. Finding where the 0 point is, where the burrs just start to touch. And then you can rotate that metal collar on the top, which is just attached with magnets, to calibrate the dial to 0. I did find that when I pressed down it affected the distance the burrs were apart, and it seemed to be more on one side than the other. So this got me a bit suspicious about burr alignment. I've now taken the top off, and you can see that it's the shiny rainbow coloured burrs, which is how they look in the promotional material on the website. They're called Opal Glide, so I think it's some kind of very thin coating that gives that effect. So these are the new burrs that are different from the yellow titanium ones that the previous version of this grinder had. Nobody really knows if it makes any difference. Everything's mounted on rubber to help dampen any vibrations. And I do find it does vibrate quite a bit during operation. I guess with coffee stuck on the burrs, they're never going to be perfectly balanced. But it's fine, and it comes on and off very easily with just 3 screws. And everything goes back the way it was, there's no concerns about how it's aligned. So here I've done the felt tip pen to check the burr alignment, and I did find that the top burr was ever so slightly out of alignment. So you can see that the felt tip's still on, it hasn't been rubbed off on this side. I say felt tip, it's whiteboard marker because it just wipes off easily. This burr I never had to touch. It was always in perfect alignment. Here you can see how I did the shims. It took me a while to realise that that groove is where the contact is, so that's where you have to put the shims, rather than on top where the screw holes are. So here it is after alignment. It took me a few attempts and only about 5 or 6 pieces of tin foil, and now it's perfect. And this one is still perfect, so I didn't have to touch this burr at all. So this is where I noticed that when you change direction, see how it sort of rocks a little bit. So I think it matters which way you turn it. So I always finish by making the grind slightly finer. If I'm coarsening the grind, I then go too far and then I come back, just so that that's always in the right position. And I do wonder if the burrs were aligned before I started, but for turning the other way. But I'll never know, and I don't think it would be possible to find out, because to check the alignment you have to tighten the burrs. But it doesn't seem to be a problem in use, as long as I remember to always finish by tightening. So here I am doing a first test. People talk about seasoning the burrs, and this means running a few kilograms of coffee through the grinder to, I suppose, wear off any artifacts from the manufacturing process. I managed to get 4 kilograms of old stale beans from a coffee roaster, and I spent a while running through about 1 kilo at a time. The grinder did get a bit hot if you grind 1 kilo all in one go, so I gave it a rest in between. it made a fair bit of mess, but obviously I wasn't doing the WDT, so there was more static than usual. But it all just cleaned up very easily. And here's how it looks inside after all that. So this is after 4 kilograms of coffee's been through it. And there's very little sort of stuck inside. So there are my beans measured out, and that's where I set the, that's where espresso ended up being about 1.4 on that dial. It seems to be mostly around about where I do my grinding for espresso. So this is the process for a typical brew. This is early days, this is one of my very first espressos on this grinder, so I do 18 grams. So this is new for this grinder, doing this squirting. It does help, it does make the coffee stick to the machine a lot less, and I feel like if I don't do this, it comes out a bit burstily and kind of big blobs rather than all smoothly like this. I don't think it makes a huge difference though. I think if you forget or you can't be bothered, it's no big deal. It's maybe slightly messier, maybe a little bit more coffee is left inside. You don't really have to go to as much effort as I go to here every time. This is early days. I'm still quite enthusiastic about trying it out. It's a bit quicker now that I'm used to it. This is how it comes out. So it comes out piled up in a bit of a heap like this. So I have been struggling a little bit more than I did with the Vario, with sort of trying to distribute things evenly in the puck and get an even extraction. I'm still experimenting a bit with that, and I've only got this toothpick. And I tend to tap it on the tamper now, on the tamping mat now. So it's a little bit hit and miss with the distribution, I find still. So here I am doing a shot. So this one came out nice and evenly. This was a good one. Sometimes you get more of a donut shape at first. The only thing with this one was I ground it a bit too fine, so this is a really slow shot. But what I find is that there is as long as you get the puck distribution right, then there is a good relationship between the grind setting and the speed of this extraction. It's fairly easy to dial it in, it's fairly easy to make an adjustment and see the results. So I got a bit anxious and cut it a bit short. Didn't quite make the 36 grams from 18 grams. It looks very pretty, there's nice fresh beans, came out really nice. Didn't taste too bad, but did lack sweetness, which when I coarsened the grind slightly and did a bit of a faster brew, the sweetness came back and it was really good. And I can fairly reliably get that every time with this grinder. Whereas with the Vario, which I had before, I did find it was a bit more random what I got.